You sit down at the table, look at your plate, and realize that getting older has turned eating into an absolute minefield. You get hit with a prediabetes or type 2 diabetes warning, and suddenly every food you love is labeled as toxic. You are told to clear out your refrigerator, throw away the cheese, and accept a life of miserable restriction. You believe cheese is dangerous. You believe saturated fat is the absolute enemy of your blood sugar. But what if the mainstream dietary advice has been lying to you for decades? What if I told you that stepping away from cheese means you are walking away from one of the most powerful, biologically active blood sugar allies a man could possibly consume? Welcome to the Men's Wellness Blueprint. Today, we are destroying the myth that cheese ruins your health. We are looking at the hard, unvarnished biochemistry. When you consume the right kind of cheese, in the exact right amount, it does not spike your blood sugar. In fact, specific cheeses physically slow down sugar absorption, heavily support the cells in your pancreas that manufacture insulin, and actively lower your long-term risk of metabolic failure. This is not an opinion. This is exactly what the clinical data proves. Today, we are going to walk through the 5 specific cheeses that every man over 50 should be weaponizing against insulin resistance. We will break down exactly what happens inside your biological machine when you eat them, the exact portions you need, and the 3 supermarket traps you must avoid at all costs. Before we start the countdown, there is a fundamental biological truth about cheese and blood sugar that the medical system rarely explains, and understanding this will completely change how you look at your glucose readings. Cheese has a glycemic index of essentially 0. But the story does not stop there. Roughly 30 to 60% of the heavy protein in cheese is slowly converted into glucose by your liver through a process called gluconeogenesis. This happens about 3 hours after you eat it. The fat in cheese also produces a highly delayed effect on your blood sugar, usually 4 to 6 hours later. Think of a slice of white bread like throwing lighter fluid on a fire. The flame explodes instantly and then crashes. A solid serving of cheese is like placing a dense hardwood log into a stove. It does not flare up. It burns slowly, quietly, and consistently for hours. If you only test your blood sugar 1 hour after eating a heavy cheese meal, you will see a normal number. But if you check it at the 3-hour mark, you might see a gentle rise. The cheese is not betraying you. You are just measuring the metabolic burn at the wrong time. This slow burn actually protects you. It slows down gastric emptying and stimulates incretin hormones. Let us get straight into the blueprint, counting down from number 5 to number 1. Pay very close attention to number 1 because it contains a specific vitamin that directly defends your arteries from calcification. Number 5 on the list is fresh mozzarella. We are starting here because it is incredibly accessible, meaning you can deploy this tactic tomorrow morning. In 100 grams of fresh mozzarella, you are getting about 18 grams of high-quality protein, virtually 0 carbohydrates, and a moderate fat content. But the true power of fresh mozzarella is what it does to your gut microbiome. Fresh mozzarella is a naturally fermented cheese. It is loaded with live bacterial cultures that act as a biological army inside your digestive tract. As men age, chronic, low-grade inflammation begins to destroy their insulin sensitivity. A healthy, diverse microbiome produces compounds called short-chain fatty acids. One of these is named butyrate. Clinical research shows that butyrate directly supports and defends the beta cells in your pancreas. These are the exact cells responsible for producing your insulin. By eating 50 to 80 grams of fresh mozzarella a few times a week with olive oil and tomatoes, you're actively feeding the bacteria that lower your systemic inflammation. Just ensure you are buying real, fresh mozzarella sitting in water, not the highly processed, rubbery string cheese marketed to children in plastic wrappers. Moving to number 4. This one is arguably the most efficient protein source in the entire grocery store. Number 4 is cottage cheese. Now, cottage cheese does not protect your blood sugar just through what it does in your bloodstream. It protects you by stopping you from making a massive mistake 2 hours later. In 100 grams of cottage cheese, you get roughly 11 grams of heavy protein and fewer than 4 grams of carbohydrates, all for under 100 calories. When you consume that much dense protein, your body forcefully releases powerful satiety hormones. These hormones travel to your brain and completely shut off your appetite for the next 4 hours. For a man managing his blood sugar, this is the ultimate weapon. The real damage to your metabolic health does not usually happen at breakfast. It happens at 3 in the afternoon when your energy crashes and you reach for the crackers or the pretzels. Eating a cup of plain cottage cheese shuts that door completely. It is also loaded with calcium, which long-term studies link directly to improved insulin sensitivity. Just avoid the trap of buying cottage cheese loaded with pineapple or peach syrup. Those contain 20 grams of added sugar and completely destroy the benefit. Buy plain. Number 3 takes us to a specific fat profile that the rest of this list does not possess. Number 3 is authentic feta cheese. The reason feta makes this list has everything to do with the animal the milk comes from. Authentic Greek feta must be made from sheep's milk or a specific blend of sheep and goat milk. This is critical. Sheep's milk contains a significantly higher concentration of a fatty acid called conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA. In study after clinical study, CLA is associated with improved insulin sensitivity and a direct reduction in visceral fat. Visceral fat is the silent killer for men. It is not the soft fat you can pinch on your stomach. It is the hard, dense fat that wraps around your liver, your pancreas, and your intestines. It acts like a toxic layer of grease choking the engine of your car. Visceral fat is the primary driver of insulin resistance in men over 50. By consuming authentic sheep's milk feta, you are ingesting a specific fat that fights visceral fat accumulation. But you must read the label. Much of the American-style feta sold in plastic tubs is made from cheap cow's milk and completely lacks the CLA profile. Look for the words "made from sheep's milk" on the packaging. Number 2 on the list is the cheese you should always keep stocked in your kitchen. Number 2 is ricotta. Ricotta earns this high rank because of a quiet biochemical reality that the medical system ignores. Most cheeses are made from the solid curds of milk. Ricotta is made from the whey. It is the liquid left over after other cheeses are produced. That one distinction changes everything. The protein in ricotta is whey protein, the exact same fast-absorbing protein that athletes use to build muscle. Whey protein is incredibly rich in an amino acid called leucine. Leucine is one of the most aggressive, natural stimulators of GLP-1 in the human gut. GLP-1 is the exact hormone pathway that highly expensive modern weight loss and diabetes drugs target. In a major clinical study, type 2 diabetics who consumed whey protein right before a meal saw their post-meal blood sugar spikes drop by nearly 28%. 28% just from eating the right protein at the right time. Half a cup of plain ricotta on whole grain toast acts as a biological shield against glucose spikes. And finally, the absolute king of the list. The one cheese you probably only use as a dusting on your pasta, never realizing the massive physiological power it holds. Number 1 is authentic aged Parmesan. We're talking about Parmigiano Reggiano, imported and aged for at least 18 to 24 months. Not the fake, sawdust-filled powder sold in green shaker cans. In just 30 grams of aged Parmesan, you get 8 grams of highly bioavailable protein. The carbohydrate content is absolute zero. But the true reason Parmesan takes the number 1 spot is vitamin K2. Aged Parmesan carries one of the highest concentrations of vitamin K2 found in any food on Earth. Vitamin K2 acts as the biological traffic director for calcium in your body. It grabs calcium out of your bloodstream and forces it into your bones where it belongs. Without K2, calcium quietly deposits into the walls of your arteries, making them stiff and rigid. For a man managing blood sugar, this is vital because insulin resistance naturally doubles or triples your risk of arterial calcification. By eating a few tablespoons of aged Parmesan every day, you are actively defending your cardiovascular system from turning to stone while keeping your blood sugar completely flat. Now you have the blueprint. But before you rush to the store, you must understand the 3 traps that will destroy your progress. Trap number 1 is individually wrapped American cheese slices. These are not real cheese. They are highly processed chemical compounds loaded with modified starches, emulsifiers, and vegetable oils. They provide 0 GLP-1 stimulation and 0 K2. Trap number 2 is pre-shredded cheese in plastic bags. To stop the cheese from clumping together, manufacturers coat the shreds in cellulose powder, which is essentially wood pulp or potato starch. This adds hidden carbohydrates that spike your blood sugar. Always buy block cheese and grate it yourself. Trap number 3 is cream cheese. While it is low in sugar, its protein-to-fat ratio is terrible. It offers almost none of the metabolic leverage we just discussed. True men's wellness is not about starving yourself. It is about strategic, intelligent fueling. When you use these 5 cheeses correctly, you're not cheating on your diet. You are deploying high-level biological tools to crush your hunger, defend your arteries, and stabilize your insulin. If this blueprint shifted your perspective today, I need you to take action. Hit the subscribe button right now. We are building a brotherhood of men who refuse to be weak, delivering the hard, unvarnished science every single week to keep you operating at your peak. Go down to the comments and tell the community which of these 5 cheeses you are adding to your protocol this week. Take control of your environment, stop fearing real food, and keep building your blueprint. I will see you in the next video.